All right. Whew. Man, it's been a really exhausting day. I was gonna come on here and try to act all positive and joyful and whatnot, but that was it's not on my cards. I will say that with respect to the top 10 worst mothers of the decade upload, um, when I compiled the footage for this past weekend and throughout the week, I saw the file size basically with respect to my editor, which is iMovie. There's this thing where if a file is more than maybe 5 or 6 minutes, it measures the overall length of it to be 1 or 2 gigabytes or some kind of large size in comparison with my available space. So I've been deleting stuff to free up for it, and I should be finished with doing that by some point this week. I'm not entirely sure when, but it should be at some point during the week. And I'm really annoyed by that because I had recorded the footage this past weekend. So just throughout the week, I kept, doing a little piece here, a little piece there, and just to finally have it finished for it to say, you do not have enough space to get this file. Damn it. So that was really aggravating. But it wouldn't be YouTube if it weren't for aggravations, I can tell you that. Something else that happened that was of noteworthiness was that I was, I do my usual thing, upload every day. And out of this whole past week, I only received one comment, which was from with Hancock. She was the sole commentator. And I guess I'm so used to just sort of not seeing responses to stuff I put up. But it can be a little aggravating because, as I've mentioned before, I've tried to think of what I'm going to say ahead of actually starting. It is what it is, though. It's people they can't thumb something up, they can't watch anything. That's how they roll. Okay, give me a second. Apologize for the interruptions. But yeah, that's just the way the site works. You have a lot of people who are, I guess, for lack of a better word, breaking their behind to try and put stuff up, and then you've got a lot of individuals that just don't reciprocate the interest and that kind of stuff. But the most obnoxious part was definitely that upload where it was like your file is too large. Well, how did I do the other video that was documentary that was an hour long? Just it was really weird. So outside of that, most of the stuff has been decent. I'm really glad I did some stuff for Roe because, as I said before, he's my favorite member of the House, sitting member that is, so not of all time. But I'm glad I was able to cut out segments because I want to make that a regular thing where if there's a politician I really like or I think is interesting, I want to cover them more than the news does. I mean, I think I saw some stupid article about AOC. Let me go look. The Hill, they love her. She's on the cut in the news every day almost. Let's see here. The Hill. I'm gonna go through their archive and see which one they put up that was so obnoxious. Because it's just another one of those little dumb stories where they take a tweet or something else and blow it up to be a whole article. Wow, four articles about her since the 27th. I mean, I'm telling you, they're literally averaging at least one a day. They reached Green New Deal to a congressional record. Uh, so many. Chamber. I think it might have actually, they might have drowned it out. Wow. Oh, here it is. The one where they were talking about her responding to some comments that were made about the outfit she was wearing last week. It's just that that's unnecessary. Both the article that wrote about it was stupid for doing that, and the Hill was ridiculous for reporting on that. You've got all these major laws and speeches and politicians of all kinds, and you want to just about the same person every week. And I'm not even going to address what happened with South Carolina. I mean, to see all of these anti-Sanders people who week after week saw month after month saw Biden in the front act like this is some resounding rejection of him when we knew that it was an uphill battle, when there wasn't a single poll where Sanders was leading. They wanted us to be shocked that he didn't win. It's like, wow, I can't believe it. It's not like every single poll told me that wouldn't happen. Told me that that today would occur this way. Nobody would have guessed. It's just this great big shock. They really surprised us. Also, I'm probably gonna have another interruption, so bear with me. That's what we're doing today. It's just interruption, interruption. Person comes to say something just over and over because that's how they roll. They'll hear you talking to someone and they still want to try to have a conversation for whatever reason. And I've never been, unless it was something urgent, like, oh, we're out of, I don't know, toilet paper or something, right? That's really the extent of me just jumping up and going, oh my God, must speak to this person. I did express interest in talking about the VAs, like just the worst stuff they've ever done. And one of them who was giving me hell because they decided to say they were going to record something and then not do it, and you keep waiting for them and they just kind of just choose not to do it or claim they forgot. This person has recently vanished. So if you send them an email, they don't respond. Which, to be fair, they were doing that when they were supposedly online, but it's like it just gets worse and worse. I don't know. Maybe it's just because when you have your hand in so many jars, and if they're all together, just feeling as though they're going the completely opposite way of what you would like, that's probably the reason for that position. Like if I get into the project I was attempting last year and just talking to over a dozen VAs and they all acted the same way, and you sit here, you compromise with them, you say, I'll give you a month to do this, I'll give you extensions anytime you want, and they just won't budge. So, maybe it's just a combination of having a personality that really doesn't go well with uh, it's not about not having empathy because I wouldn't give extensions if I didn't, but like that basic sense of your own mortality, that wish to not put things off, to try to do them as soon as you can. When that's coupled with people who do believe in delaying and stalling and you know putting stuff off forever or for some long duration, there's some clashing there. So I'll see about trying to put that into something. These streams used to be so much more fun when the chat was lit up or was when people would write stuff. It is what it is, though. I guess I don't know. I just for some reason, just streaming has become a lot more of a annoyance because when I record something, I can just cut out a part if someone interrupts it, or put it in the editor and just pretend it didn't happen. But when it's live, you have to kind of compile stuff and do some parlor tricks and make sure that the thing doesn't get messed up by others. So that's usually the gift and the curse that comes with doing this. It's like, yeah, it's impromptu, and somebody might say something really funny, but it's coupled with having to deal with whatever consequences, like 2 interruptions less than 11 minutes in. We get a phone call, and somebody opens the door, and it went just like I said. They like the complete obliviousness to the common courtesy to let someone finish a conversation has just gone out the window. I just, like I said before, I don't think when I do projects, when I interact with people, I don't feel as though I ask for much. I gave the example of my best friend who I think the last time we spoke was this past Tuesday, and how because of the fact that he works, goes to school, I accept we can't speak every day. And I don't bemoan him for even if he wanted to do that, not doing it. Um, but usually when it gets to weeks or months, you kind of have a what, especially when these people use their phones and other devices on a daily basis. If they can't say hello after some continuous period, it becomes more, I won't say unacceptable, but it's harder to comprehend their decision making. You really should have heard. Well, I had it muted, but you should have heard. I was like, "No, I'm on the. You're on the what?" So, I was trying to leave back in December. Man, I can't wait for Excrement, the sequel, because we had 5 of them this week, which coupled with the 14 from before is 19. So again, I'm gonna try to get 50 of them, but if I'm not, I'll still settle for somewhere around 30 because the smaller and the larger or rather the smaller the amount of time and the larger the number of applications that are done, it makes them look even more ridiculous. So that'll be pretty entertaining to watch. Yeah, the only hurdle is usually iMovie and getting a place to record something without having to get interrupted over and over. Even that, just the noises and the little sound effects that are made in the background. So many pages about AOC. That's 5 pages in 1 month. I remember I actually did do a video where I was like, here's how much the Hill covers her in comparison to Rokana. And he had, I think, 20 pages and she had over 100 and something. It's really insane. I mean, at least one of the Fox hosts admitted they do that on purpose because they believe she equals ratings. Even though the clowns that watch them every day would watch them every day regardless. That's the most amusing part about the news stations. They like to pretend that they're guided by ratings when they actually create what gets ratings by giving certain things attention. It's really humorous. This is really crazy. Where the hell is the chat? Oh, I still can't go over that one bimbo that came in here and she was like, "You were mean to me over a year ago. That's why only two people are watching." Like, oh, yeah, I'm sure that if I had mailed you some flowers, we'd have 200, huh? That's my favorite part about the little nonsense that comes out of the keyboards of these clowns on here. They pretend that they have the advanced manual to how to do this stuff, and it's always from someone that doesn't even attempt to do it themselves. But they know what is the proper road to go down with respect to this site. I didn't even see these. Okay, Ruben sent me a Peter Dow tweet, and then this is Reed Epstein. Super delegates are dreaming about a savior at the convention. Some white knights they proposed. Sherrod Brown, Bleh, Michelle, Bleh, Harris, Warner, and Coons. Tell you the only thing Brown had over any of the Democrats was being good on trade. And he threw that out the window when he decided to attach his name to the USMCA. That was a really dumb decision. It's like, how do you go from opposing all these trade deals, NAFTA, TPP, CAFTA, and then you just bend over for the. And I said before that it's funny to watch a lot of these. It's a good term for them, holdovers. So the politicians that have some 10, 20, 30-year career, because you'll see that they change positions depending on who the president is. But he became pro trade or pro trade agreements after the opposing party took the White House. See what news stories they have. I just keep hearing more and more nonsense about South Carolina. It's like a state votes the exact way we expected it to vote, and it's such a big story. But also, there's a person who's been making some anti Sanders streams, and they had mentioned that because of the Castro comment, which has been taken out of context to all living hell, that this apparently meant that the Democrats were basically committing political suicide in Florida. And I'm just thinking to myself, they probably weren't going to win that state anyway. And with Sanders as the nominee, you don't even need that state since Texas and Kentucky come into play along with other ones. Held theoretically with enough support, because I always have to try to make this point to people. Somewhere like South Carolina is nowhere near as red as Alabama. Alabama, the Republicans usually have a 60-30 lead on Democrats. In South Carolina, it's usually 50-40. So the Republicans get about or rather 50% of the vote to the Democrats' 40%. Same thing with Texas. Those two states are not as red as somewhere like Alabama or South Dakota, but people don't want to listen, so they'll insist on, oh my God, if you don't have Florida, you might as well not even run. I said before, it's purposely to try and pretend that there's all these doomsday scenarios that aren't even really there. It's like you have a map of 50 states where there's going to be a solid maybe 8 or 9 that could flip, and you really want to believe that this one state is just going to sink him so much. I even say right now, the Democrats could lose. Well, they won't lose because we have a 60-30 thing over Republicans as well, but they could lose my state, which has over 50 electoral votes, and they could still win if they won the right places. So if they won Texas and Florida and New York, you could throw California in the trash. But again, that's me simply attempting to be consistent with reality, which is that there is no make or break state. There are states that make the difference because they have a higher chance of flipping than others. But the idea that there's any one place you lose and then that's it. Mm-mm. The closest to that is, what was it, Pennsylvania? And even then, that still is something that usually is just coincidentally with the winner. It's kind of like how with the Iowa caucuses, the person that wins the caucus usually for the Democrats becomes the nominee, and the one that wins it in the Republican primary usually loses the nomination overall. You it's like, yeah, that those coincidences exist, but to pretend that we're bound by them is completely it's defeatist because it basically says this one thing goes wrong. Have a whole hour long stream where nobody writes anything. It's gonna be pretty perfect. Again, the only reason I'm a little annoyed by this because I typically try to play off of whatever the chat says, but it happens. I just said before that I take great irony in it because one of the reasons we even started doing these, so the weekly 6 p.m. live show, is so if you give people a scheduled time to see something, you would think that they would show up for it. It doesn't look like that's going to be the case, which is really annoying because it's like, what's the point of having a schedule? Because I said before that I'm a lot more varied when it comes to Sunday and Monday. Sometimes in the morning, other times in the afternoon, occasionally the evening. So to have a bunch of people who just don't appear, even when you say, "Hey, at this period, I'll do this," can be pretty aggravating. I'm not aggravated. I'm not grinding my teeth, but just preferably, I would have liked them to have shown up. Hey, we got the Vanishing voice actor in the Vanishing chat. I'm gonna change the stream's name to that too. Where did my chat go? They disappeared. Say it ain't so. I told them at 6 p.m. I would stream, but they disappeared, or so it seems. Where did my chat go? How the hell am I supposed to know? I waited half an hour, but they didn't show up, and now I'm sour. Yeah, this is kind of sort of lame, but whatever. So me and YouTube are just, it really is like being in an abusive relationship. We're just like, oh, it'll eventually get better. Just keep trying. I remember when I was talking about that one guy that had the one video where it's 400,000 views on there, and how there were people in the chat saying that they had never seen his channel before, which included myself. I didn't actually write anything. I just related to what they said because I had never heard of him before that either, and I'm into what he was talking about. The idea that I went through there, and among all those comments, there was someone who wrote like must be paragraphs worth of sentences. I think it was actually longer than that, where they were like, "You should have been collabing with people and sharing your link on other websites, and this is all your fault." And I was laughing because it's so funny that someone who doesn't even try to do this knows all the ways that this should be done. I remember when we all got mad at what's his name, Hartman, uh, the guy that made Fairly Odd Parents, and he was basically saying in one of his streams where he was playing some game, if you've never done something, you shouldn't criticize someone over, which I don't agree with, but I get the basic point of that. It can be aggravating to do something that someone else or some large group of people have never attempted, and then be expected to take what they say about it seriously as if they're equipped to accurately discuss this. Again, they have the right to discuss it, but the merit of their word and how much you're able to take them seriously with their opinion uh, stems from knowing that they themselves have never attempted what you're doing. So that person had a blank profile. Well, this is what they said: you're retiring because of your own fault. The video quality is not great. The editing is not great. I still want to keep save that for an upload because I think this is that comment was literally almost 2 months ago. Wow. I'm definitely going to try to keep that in the reserves because it's just so. And people need to relax. Like if his stuff sucks so much, why are you here? That was the same point I made about the romance stuff. All these people know so much about how the opposite sex thinks and what they find attractive. You would think they would be on dates instead of watching stuff to the contrary of their opinion. I'm reminded of that one chick that I kind of in a mocking type of way. So I'm not trying to talk to any internet psychologist regarding the romance thing. And she was like, "How about a real one?" And even after I said I don't want to speak to uh, any of these people that you think or whatever, she still sent it, and it was kind of amusing just in retrospect because it's it ties so much into a point I made of how you can have a person who literally functions completely perfectly normal, and if the romance stuff doesn't go the way they want, they get accused of being insane or needing some kind of I guess I just look at it like this. If you have a person who is by all conventions a productive member of society, and then you have to try to look at this one aspect of their personal life and use it to basically infer that there must be something wrong with them. That's where I draw the line. And people are free to think that. I just don't have to engage with it. That's why I usually don't respond to any of the comments that are still left from any of the romance stuff unless it's something that I agree with, because I just I don't I see it as pointless to go back and forth anymore. Like I don't have the same good faith. I'll take it as give you an example. When I was criticizing the Galactic Patrol arc in that stream this past Sunday, I was talking about what I didn't like and what I did like because it was a good faith rebuke of a ongoing story, or at least parts of it that were developing and that have been confirmed to have taken place. So when you have clowns that come on here and they go, "You are ugly," bleh," it's not good faith, so it's not a good idea for me to try and respond to it. And I've actually in making a lot of I guess with just when I make an opinioned position on a lot of this stuff, I at least try to have some kind of citation I can pull out as a fact, so that even when you have people who respond by saying it's just my opinion, I'll say all right, whatever, but I'll still feel vindicated because of the proof that I have to support my position. So when they come on here and they start talking about what you need to get with someone, we can pull out examples of people that have gotten with someone and not had those things. And I'll freely say you may not think that not having those things is a deal breaker, or rather, you may not think those things not being in someone's possession are a factor, but this other person thought it was. It's just simply to say that you can't state an opinion as fact. It was my opinion that if someone presented themselves to be intelligent, they could get hired. And if you look at the extra employers, the one I did, you can tell that's not always the case. So the most aggravating thing of that video is just knowing that every single one of those people, either whether they responded with their no or just didn't say anything at all, didn't even ever personally interact with me. And then the few places that they were just like, yeah, whatever, it's okay. No, no, thank you. And we're not supposed to be pissed. I told you so much of my position on these things is kind of just from the perspective of you have nothing to lose. It's like they've already deprived me of revenue. They've already deprived me of interactions or relationships. It's just can't get any worse. And even with having that position, there's still unwritten rules I abide by. So, for example, I don't put my hands on anyone, which is why when I read the nonsense, which I have to use that term because I don't want to use something more vulgar, about, oh, you're going to be a rapist. That stuff is so antithetical to what I do, which is usually at most get annoyed and use some profanity. But aside from that, that's the full extent of my wicked ways. That's why at most all the critiques are aimed at something that was said versus an actual activity on my part. Because when you have the mentality that uh, that just things are against you in the sense that even the slightest, because we've had people before that will look at and say, all right, that person was in a bad mood. Uh, will attribute it to some kind of human error or the idea that they make mistakes. But certain people don't get that same kind of chance or redemption or you know excuse. And that'd be funny if someone just kind of skipped through this and then they see the live chat replay and they're like, he turned it off. They must have said something that hurt his feelings. Like, no, they were non-existent. They all turned into invisible women. They all vanished. It would be amusing if there was that misconception appeared. But yeah, like I was saying with the critiques, it is difficult if you are the one being criticized to kind of just surrender to whatever the person is saying. But if it's done in a way that does not appear to be mean spirited or to otherwise kind of have a condescending tone to it, I'm not that against it. Like, I remember I had one person who came on here and they tried to basically respond to the points I was making about the U.S. relationship with Israel. Um, and they were citing Palestinians doing stuff to Israelis, and I conceded that because it was true that there are members of Palestine that do bad things. They're just as Trump said about Charlottesville, there are good people on both sides. My point is that when they presented something to support their opinion, I conceded its validity. With a lot of the romance clowns, you can literally cite various experiences you've had, and they'll still try to debate it. And I'll never forget when I was talking to the what is that Triple L? What's her name? The one that lacks logic. I had mentioned the one bimbo that said, uh, "I'm not going to speak to you if you don't want to talk by messages." And I'd said that I've never met anyone who became romantically involved with someone or had some close relationship that they never heard the voice of. And Triple L said, "Oh, I think she might have meant that she wasn't ready to speak now." Or, implying that at some point later on, this clown would have wanted to interact in the way I preferred. I had to go into my Reddit account, dig through all of these ridiculous uh, and whimsical messages that were written by other clowns and show her read verbatim what the message was. And it turned out to be exactly as I remembered it. My way or the highway. And she was like, fine, okay, I'll concede. Okay, okay, that's what she said. Yeah. And I said, that stuff like that's so aggravating because it's not even worth attempting to. So for example, if someone says, um, this person, I don't know, called me an idiot, I'll take it at face value. I'll say, all right, that person said that. Because I have no reason to try to side with or give the benefit of the doubt to the other character. And I also have no reason to doubt your recollection of what occurred, especially if I'm trying to speak to you in some kind of friendly, amicable way. With her, it was just an unneeded, unnecessary attempt to side with another person just because they also have a, you guessed it, triangle. telling you mine, telling you the vagina hive mind is alive and well. People turn off their brains and just whoever has the same sex organs, just team up with them. Ignore all the misgivings and bad things they did. Just side with them. Give them any kind of excuse to act like a complete and utter buffoon. We went from two people to four people to three. I love it. It just rises, decreases, rises. That's literally like a a reflection of the romance stuff where it's like the being on the hamster wheel, equivalent to that. Like stagnation became my favorite word after a while. Just between this site and the chicks and the employer stuff, it all just I don't know. It's as if there's some barrier that makes it all stay the same way. And then while you're attempting to change it via applying to more places, talking to more of these clowns, you still end up getting blamed for it staying that way. Which is why you can't take these people seriously because they spit in the face of the reality, which is your attempts to make it better, and the other side refusing to, really do anything to assist you with that, in spite of all your concessions, all the different ones you've spoken to, and then you're expected to not be pissed off or to believe it's going to magically get better. You're just going to click your heels, and suddenly hocus and pocus will will make it, you know, change around. Like when I was talking to Triple L, she was like, "Oh, I bet good money that in 10 years you're not going to feel the same way about chicks that you do." I was like, "In 10 years I might, I don't know, live in the ocean." But what does that have to do with the current discussion? Like, it's just such a. That's why I said she was a condescending prick because I've never seen two individuals have a discussion and then you're going to tell them that you have this some magical orb that allows you to see into a decade into the future and now know what their position will be. The only time I attempt to do anything like that is if that has some bearing on an event that we know is going to take place. Like with the 2024 presidential election, we know that's going to take place. But I'm not going to speculate on someone randomly changing their mind about something because 6,000 or 600 days passed or whatever stupid thing she said was. Told you, a lot of these chicks are lucky that they have sex organs because talking to them makes me want to rip out my organs sometimes just from how ridiculous the stuff they say is. And it's sad too because if they would just get rid of certain things that they little themes of their I don't want to say vernacular, but personality wouldn't be a problem, or at least it would be much more tolerable. So if you remove Triple L's condescension and victimhood, because she would often say, "Oh well, I can't believe you said this about me. Oh well, I did call you out of your name one time, but you called me out of my name 6 times. Oh, that doesn't matter because blah, blah, blah." If you get rid of that, it would have been at least 3 times better. But just those two things together, I really have to give myself credit for the amount of patience that went into talking to that chick for what was that 6, 7, 8 months, 9 or 10. It was a continuous period. That's like September to July. I don't know how I survived speaking to that clown. Well, no, now I do because For December, there were barely any interactions, and then for I think it was March or April, it was like that as well. So it was really closer to probably 9 or 8 months, and even that is still too long to. I said before the only reason that even went that long is I did a social experiment. I was like, let's see how long we can not make an attempt on this chick because trying to get one of them to agree to anything never works. We're just gonna play this completely platonic. It was me playing against the trope because I had realized that it's usually after maybe a couple of weeks or a month when I don't want to say pop the question, but kind of indicate interest. So I said, let's see if I can play the long game and it makes any difference. And that's literally why in the last phone call, that was the only time I asked that clown on a date. And when they said no, they had to go. So yeah, that was pretty funny. But that was pretty different from the usual story beats. Wish I could say the same for this VA thing. I had one person who asked if I hated voice actors. I said no because most of the ones that worked on this thing, at least out of the ones that are currently on it, I couldn't say one bad word about. But that's what makes it all the more disillusioning when you have, let's say, 10 people and then two of them are just really, really slow with respect to how often they record stuff. So the other eight have to just sit there and not have their stuff come out because of them. Oh man, we got Stupid Tuesday on. I was gonna say Stupid Tuesday on Tuesday. That'll be redundant. It's gonna be pretty entertaining just watching what states go for who and then the reactions and the fact that people have still not dropped out yet. Like I don't know what's wrong with Warren. If you think you're gonna lose the first four states and have any potential viability left, you must either be coordinating with the DNC because you can go look at every single other presidential primary. I truly think since the beginning of them, and you've never had a candidate who lost the first four states that became the nominee. She must think that she has Moses or some higher deity on her side. Oh, at last. Oh, Biosin decided to get resurrected. Hey, we should call this the one is the loneliest number stream. That'll be an appropriate title. And he misspelled my name. So now we know he's a double agent. He's a supporter by day, troll at night. He's been revealed. This is such a. I don't know. I think a lot of the points I made were decent. That's going to be the saving grace for the stream, and it should be because of what I say. It's just to not have the interactions. Still a noticeable downside. I was also gonna say I had this emulator that I'm gonna yeah, BIOS, and I have no idea. You're the first one. Almost 50 minutes in, you're the initial person to write something. And they must be nervous. They think I'm gonna. What did that one commenter say? I'm gonna be a molester. They think I'm that's you write a comment, my hand just appears in the screen. Man, some of the stuff people write on here is so insane. And it's crazy because I'm like, when I think of any kind of sexual offender, I think of someone that has a bunch of porn, which again, I'm not saying there's something wrong with that, but the idea that the person who's going to be a molester is someone that doesn't put their hands on anyone, that the greatest offense they've ever had is just looking into a camera and talking about something that is crazy as hell. That's why I said, man, there needs to be some kind of like test for, because I would never write something such as that. It's just strange. How's the weekend? Well, I didn't strain myself at that video, although I am disappointed because I did write a script for that I couldn't, that it's too big for the current size space to import it. So the only other option I have is to either delete a whole bunch of stuff or do something relating to my bios, and I found like 8 of them this week. But I was saying the only two ways to get around the lack of storage space, which is still insane to me, is either delete stuff or there's some kind of verification thing I can do that can put the file on YouTube manually, where they have an uploader on that movie. But because it's longer than 15 minutes, I have to find another way to that other stick it on. Flirting with anyone? No, not at all. Having some contact with um it not in, I guess not in an unprofessional manner. I'll put it that way. Like I said, I'm so sick of them, man. They're all the same. Oh, let me reverse that. Most of them are all the same. There's a small segment because you know they do that. They like to hang on your every word. So there's a itty bitty minuscule group that doesn't do what they do, but they're harder to find than a four leaf clover. I remember this one guy when he was dissing the romance gurus, the one that put up those videos. He said that they're gonna tell you. And I don't think they're gonna get rid of it eventually. I remember North Korea actually talked about that. They made some kind of threat if the disease was found with them that we could expect a response. But there was someone who said the romance people are like magicians. They think they're gonna make a broad appear in your lap or something. And it was funny because I just realized it's actually been about 3 or 4 years since I even watched any romance stuff. Like I remember distinctively one of the last ones I watched. The guy was saying as a joke that the woman you're speaking to might be embarrassed because she's voting for Trump. And in the comment section, people were really amused by that. And I was kind of annoyed because, you know, it is nice to, because you have to admit there's a portion of these people who support him. So to stick that in there, I mean, whatever. It's humor is humor, but it still just kind of was unnecessary to an extent. I'm just saying that was one of the last. I'm mentioning that one in particular because it's one of the last ones that didn't. What do you call it? That I saw, and it dates itself with that comment because it was during the previous presidential election. So for that means for 3 whole years, no romance, no internet person's romance advice at all, at least in video form. Closest we get are those little comments that people leave, and I make sure to turn my eyes somewhere else. I have a showers and bang it. Oh, good for you. Did you know if she dips her face in water for more than 2 minutes, her eyes will turn green? That's a play on that. on that joke that fake gold, when exposed to, what is it, water, turns green. Oh, I thought April Fool's Day was April 1st instead of March 1st. You're trying to be, well, we're not even on March 1st yet, but you're trying to be part, get there in a timely, an overly timely manner. Wish love was a real thing, man. Oh, you said my man. Told you, romance is a scam. It's just, I already did that video. Unless you're a chick, you're pretty much limited to like one or two options, which is the prostitutes, and then maybe one broad will show interest, and you have to pray and hope that she is someone that you actually like the appearance of. And that's something that kills me because you have so many of these virtue signaling bimbos that pretend as though they don't check the appearances of whoever they like as well, whoever they're talking to. And I can literally name multiple occasions on these different text websites where, and it was at least two of them stopped responding after they saw their lip. So chicks are just as shallow as men, if not more. At least the man will tell you what he wants. They'll insult with some specific, but all reverberates to nothing. It's sad. Yeah, because they're liars. They just lead people on to try and get something out of you. I had one of them who admitted that they only spoke to me because they were bored. They just wanted someone to interact with. And then when they're tired of speaking to you after you're their little entertainment clown, you get completely tossed to the wayside. So many scammers. Okay. Well, we finally got one person in here. Thank God for Biozen. He's the highlight of the night. Remember, I kept explaining that there is no guide to making. It's like this: when they do those little stupid videos about how to make someone like you, those same people will be the ones that will tell you I'm sexist for saying chicks do the same thing, even though every single one of them, except for that gold digger, has. So they want it both ways, where they want to tell you what things to do to make one of them like you, while at the same time saying that they're different. So if they're different, that video wouldn't exist. Like I said, I'm not dishonest. I don't get on here and pretend that there's some magical clown lurking around because you know I can't promise that to some random person on here. I can't even promise that to my best friend who about a week or two ago was talking about quitting, and I even, because I have people who like to lie on me and say that I'm trying to make everyone have the same experience. I even said to him, don't quit until you feel there's nothing more you can do. When you get to the point where sitting on a chair you believe would yield the same results as going to a mall or to on one of these websites, that's when you know that you've overextended yourself, where you're done. But it's an organic feeling. Yeah, I just hate a lot of these smears. You want everyone to be upset too? No, I don't. I get nothing out of my friend having this problem. Me cuts off contact with all females. I gave up in that aspect completely. Oh yeah, I told you I don't even unless it's a project. I don't talk to chicks because I'm not gonna be friend zoned. That was why that one got mad, the triple L, because she didn't like that I was basically like, hey, unless you eventually date me, you can go, eat a banana and not the one you buy in the store. It definitely is the feeling of missing out. And, if you saw the admit jealousy video, you know why that's so problematic because people who don't even put in as much work or effort are able to experience things that, we have to jump over and bend over for. And we're told that that is somehow fair. But this isn't like being born into wealth or, some kind of status thing, right? That comes from natural circumstances, right? 'Cause we don't control who our parents are, but people control who they want to go on a date with. So a woman theoretically could go up to any one of these dudes and say, let's just be together, get in a relationship, whatever, and it would be over. But that is not a guaranteed thing to anyone. So when you have these clowns that come on here and try to assure you of it, it's a scam. Oh, just do this one thing, and no, no, because those are my trademark colors. Or you want me to wear pink or purple or teal or turquoise? I don't know what that has to do with the topic of the stream. No, that's a little too close to red. I wear blue because I'm the good guy. I'm the protagonist. I'm the one they get mad at for saying stuff, but that I would take saying stuff over any of the over any of the little horrible actions these people have. Yeah, this is going to be the male version of the Twitch thoughts, huh? That's how they roll. They find a little way to complain about everything. Or let that breathe, huh? I don't even remember. The only black I wear is usually just a jacket. I don't even have any black shirts. That's the crazy part. So that's why it was a little funny to see that. I was like, what black? I was like, oh yeah, the jacket. No, Bios and the gold digger took care of that. That was the only thing that bimbo was work was good for. That was her one saving grace. The morning was good. The afternoon was a little annoying. That's the best way to sum it up. Because when you want to work on something and you've got some computer troubles where they're talking about you need to free up storage or uh, log into your account and change something to make it to where you can upload stuff through your BIOS and through your browser. That's always annoying. Like imagine putting something together like a puzzle and then you can't even show it to anyone because reasons, which is basically what was the explanation for that. Robotics. What Transformers? Well, Megatron he's got an all right design, but a lot of the later incarnations are just kind of they try to be too much like the original one. We haven't really seen any attempts at making them like the Beast Wars one. I don't know why he doesn't just get rid of Starscream. If he's gonna keep betraying you, get rid of him. And my issue with Soundwave is they don't really let us see his cassette tapes anymore. It's kind of just him by himself. Apparently, Bowsen found that really funny. He's over there. I could just picture him sitting at his computer. Hey, Bowsen, remember you said I scared you because I played that clip of the laugh. I remember that show, Mega's XLR. Yeah, I have to rewatch that. I haven't seen that in a long time. I remember. I think there was one episode where there was like a future version of where one of the main characters was evil or something. That wasn't even me. That was a commentator who was making fun of some person that had laughed on one of his streams, and it was actually he pauses midway through it to then start doing it again. So I took both of them and stuck them next to each other. So I'm just explaining the origins of that clip. Yeah, I haven't seen that show in a long time. I can't believe it was only 2 seasons. It's like the 2 season limit is just so edgy for some reason. Like with Spectacular Spider-Man, that only got 2 seasons. With Green Lantern, that was 1 season, but it was treated as 2 seasons. It had the same number of episodes of 26. And it got canceled for the dumbest reason in the world, which was that the toys for the movie didn't sell, even though the movie is nothing to do with the cartoon at all. So, well, you can keep on imagining that because that is not happening. Told you we're going to peak at maybe 3,000, and even that would be lucky. Mm, Biden won somehow ridiculous. Yeah, it is a between the Clyburn endorsement and just a lot of conservative Democrats being in that state. I kept trying to explain to people that they're going to coalesce around whoever the candidate is. So, if there's a bunch of conservative Democrats that prefer Biden to Sanders, I don't see in any way in hell they're gonna they're gonna be like, yeah, Trump in the general. No, but most Democratic voters vote for whoever the Democrat is, just like most Republican voters vote for whoever the Republican is. It's just something that happens. Yeah, he didn't do as well as he thought he would do because this was the only state he was polling anything that was worth a damn in. He really should have stayed with his original idea to just not be in there. Because remember, he announced he was going to stay out of the race. I don't do clickbait. I'm an honest person. That's why I get all the flack that I do for telling the truth. We definitely need to hear about that. He had no chance. I don't know. He was thinking. Is some female private parts, long hair. Well, I did make a joke that I was gonna have some like hooker be paid for like a week to just do the videos for me. Like she just reads off a script. Like I stand behind the computer like a teleprompter, some cue cards, grow breasts, and have some more subs that way. I remember there was this one guy because I thought you were referring to Transformers earlier, who had a review of what character was that? Was it Cliff Jumper? It was about 10 years ago, and the video starts with a woman that I'm assuming is his wife sticking her breast in front of the camera. Well, she has some shirt on, but she pulls the shirt down to kind of overextend the cleavage, and it's like Cliff Jumper review part one. So, is that necessary? You really have to stick that on there? I mean, sex sells. That's why part one had way more views than part two. Because he had her do that, but it was just weird because I'd never seen a reviewer of a toy stick that. Like, what the hell's wrong with you? Keep up despite the trackers. Not even just the trackers. Like I wish we could get more engagement from the subs, but that's what one can wish. Oh, it was a surprise, Megumi, because literally. And by the way, I actually mistook you when you so your comments about the female private parts. I mistook you for flying Ika Man because you guys both have that red picture. So that was my error. But that review did surprise me because I literally all the reviews I watched relating to some toy, I've never seen any review like that where they started off with some overtly sexual crap. I wish I could find that video. I remember what toy it was too. I'm gonna go look for it later. I remember that I think part one got taken down, but I know part two is probably still up. I'm gonna go dig for it. Put type it in the name of the toy and then put upload date. It's like it's like whose breasts were those? I wonder. Omagumi, the top 10 worst mother video. I explained this earlier in this. I have it finished, but I have to delete a bunch of files or find a different way to upload it to YouTube. So that's why it didn't come out this week. And I only got one comment this week out of all the stuff I put up. So I cut my wrist and bled all over the floor. Because I was so sad that no one wrote anything. Oh, it'll just be one of those lonely weeks. Megumi was pissed off he didn't get his top 10 worst mothers video. It's like, where the heck is that? Where are those murderous broads getting ethered? It is definitely going to come out because I've got the thing recorded. Just oh man, it's so close. It's just like I remember when I did the Giuliani one. So that documentary. The reason that didn't come out was because I couldn't find a place to record and not have it sound like crap. And I also had to like find a way to get certain clips I was trying to use. So that was a double-edged sword. With this, it's just one thing, which is finding the storage space for it. Because I'd rather just upload directly on here. I don't have to have a file. I keep a copy of it automatically in the editor, but I don't have to have an MP3 of it or MP4. It's just annoying that that site is like that, or rather that my computer was acting that way. It is going to be a backdoor way to get my subs to donate for a computer. Like if you'd like a worst mothers romance, what you call worst mothers of the decade video, make sure to go to Patreon. Pledge a buck. It'll go a long way toward 1,000. That'd be funny if they actually had like a way to force you to only be able to pledge a certain amount. Like everybody can only pledge $1. Like we're gonna make sure 1,000 people donate by having them only have $1. No, but it should be concluded at some point this week. Again, hopefully. I gotta still figure out how I'm gonna make that. They have some option, but I need to. It's a little bit more involved than I thought it was gonna be. So Megumi is disappointed. Biozen's very disappointed. Biozen came in here lying, talking about he was uh, messing with some blonde chick in the shower and whatnot. In order to be successful on Patreon, you just need to be a female. I told you, Megumi, I will never forgive YouTube or the people that watch it for allowing me to have 3 patrons, but a broad who doesn't do anything but sit in front of a camera and go, ooh, 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 to have 3,000. That was insane. And this isn't even like a thing of just being upset at someone else's success. I could have 30 and I'd still be pissed off that that person is that many because it just it doesn't make sense. The person doesn't make anything. All they do is wear some stupid clothes and do videos where they steal someone else's content and go. So, so I said it's just the world at large is too slanted in favor of chicks. That's why I don't try to do them any favors. They can work on my projects with me because that's actually something that requires you to, have any semblance of actual talent. But as far as I'm gonna talk to you because you look pretty, forget that. What's the point of me doing that if I have no reason to believe that's actually going to materialize into a relationship? Let me see. Okay, Flying Iceman. Is it Ica Man or Iceman? Girl I was after just got into a relationship. It's over. That reminds me of that one bimbo I used to talk to when I was in high school who said, because remember they always have this thing about how the bad guy isn't supposed to win. I'm not trying to say she was the bad guy, but I think she was the more less how to explain it? It's kind of it's similar to one of the things they say about uh okay, I just want to make sure. But one of the things like I don't want to butcher your name, you go, oh my god, he said Iceman, I'm on subbing. But one of the things that people try to claim is that if you have high standards, you have a lesser chance of getting with someone. I literally had a chick tell me no or decline to go on a date, whatever, and then not even 3 weeks later she got with this guy, and I was just sitting there, I was like, how the hell does that work? Like they really get their pick of the litter. And now Flying Iceman has revealed he owns all cool homes. He's a Super Saiyan homeowner. The best houses. Okay, me and her were cool and everything, but it is what it is. She's trying to keep me around to help her. Hell nah. Yeah, I wouldn't be assisting her because again, there's no point. You're not going to get anything out of that. So I would endorse the position you currently have. Once they get with someone else, that's what that relationship with me turns into. That friendship. Megumi, remember with the lady lacking logic, how I think you saw the documentary I did on her where she pretended to be with someone and then not even 2 months later, it was like that never existed. That relationship just vanished. Like you really had to. It was remember build a bear. You had to build a man to pretend to pretend that you were with someone just so you could ward off my non-existent advances. Literally in the entire 10 months I spoke to that bimbo, the only time I made any advance was all the way at the end. The last, I think it was the second to last time we ever spoke. Certainly the last time we spoke. Uh, Umi says, "Oh, hmm." Just picture him like inquisitive Joey, just like, "Oh, hmm." I still explained it anyway, so you don't have to go back and watch it. I hate it when they do that when people can't just like if it's a small point, I don't really see the harm in repeating it. I remember this one guy made 3 videos I liked about 10 years ago, and I came on his streams. I said, "What are you gonna do a fourth one?" This dude talked about go watch his whatever video. I was like, man, forget this. If it comes out, I'll see it in the search engine. If it doesn't, oh well. No, the last 10 years of him not putting that up have confirmed it's not going to be made. So he can have fun with that. Yeah, I think after the worst mothers videos, then I'll probably do either California excrement employers 2, or maybe I don't know. I think because with 2, I have enough material from this month alone because it's a sequel to the other one, where it's at least 19 places from this month by itself. Well, actually, not technically not from this month by itself because the other one had the first week of February, but again, we can add the almost 20 from that video to the almost 30 from the other video. And it's oh, what a staggering number. We should just do it every month, a new California's excrement employers. Because I still want to give them enough time to respond back, but I got a point to prove, which is that these people are not trying to hire anybody. Wagumi, did you ever think you'd live to see the day where somebody could fill out 50 applications in 3 months and nobody says anything? It's like, what the hell is wrong with them? It actually hasn't even been 3 months because this is started from December 12th. So we got. I'm gonna make sure I put another 10 in there by next week. So I'm glad flying. Man, flying. I don't. I'm sorry, but I don't. I shouldn't need. It's just like with the chick thing. I'm not. I'm done taking responsibility for these places on some massive scale doing something. So I'm not even going to answer that. If it was 5 places and you asked me that, okay, whatever, I'll respond. But you know, does someone really need to have worked at wherever for 10 years to get a position at McDonald's? Are you serious? My resume. Yeah, whenever they have those large number things, I'm finished. Not finished as in trying, but just I'm done attempting to criticize myself for a bunch of people acting like a bunch of businesses in this case acting like the Borg from Star Trek, where they all do the same thing. Well, it's definitely a Twilight Zone. Well, flying on those with a number of those websites, you have the option to create a resume or fill out the application manually, meaning that sometimes you don't actually put a resume on there. Sometimes you put all of the information that would be on a resume on that site. My point is that because it's so many places, and for the most part they don't even respond, it's hard for me to look at what I have and say I'm the problem or I'm doing something wrong when I keep putting myself out there and these places for the most part say nothing, or in the rare instances say no thank you. It's stupid when you get blamed for something out of your control. In this case, employers that don't contact you back for the position you applied, like really? Well, that's what I told you about. It is what sucks with a lot of the people I know personally because they'll never ask, "Have you applied anywhere?" Because I would literally pull out that video and show it to them, but they'll just keep assuming he just isn't even trying at all. He doesn't even care. That's why he's filled out 50 of them in 2 months. He just doesn't care. I really do by the end of the year want to have like at least 100 or 200. Like if it just keeps going. Like I want to just print all of these out on a piece of paper and just be like, this is an application, there's another one, another one, another one. make a chair out of applications, and it's always a different one. Like that's how varied and unique this is. I blame Megumi for them not hiring him because he should have turned in the baby from Dragon Ball GT and possessed the employer and make him hire him. I can just picture Megumi like cutting one of the employers and then like turning into a liquid and going in their wound, and it's like, yes, I'm inside now. I can hire myself. And then he plants an egg in there, so when he's back to his normal form, the employer still does what he wants him to do because he's possessing him without being in control, or he's under his possession without him being in there anymore. That is just so insane. Told you, Megumi, there's a thing with people where they just want to take the easy way out when it comes to like critical thinking. So that's why they do stuff such as this, where they'll uh, try to shift blame. And it's not Iceman I'm talking about here, but like with the chick thing, I could have spoken to 1,000 of them, and people would still say, "Well, it's because you're blah 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 blah." Blah." They're never going to look at the number and say, wait a second, if that many of them, because we're believing that they're different, right? That chicks are not all the same. If that many of them made the same decision, and sometimes they still spoke to him for a month or two, sometimes, in the most extreme cases, they said they weren't arrested and then they changed their mind. Maybe there's something wrong with those people instead of, the guy who keeps finding people that he's completely content with, or at least content with enough to try, doing something with. Remember, this is all just to get a date, not to get married, not to. We've been over that before. Hey, Megumi, remember? Uh, well, from what I've seen of you, you don't seem like someone who just wants a date. Okay, but if I say that and you don't believe it, that's on you. Megumi, you're gonna go to McDonald's and you're gonna order a shake, and I'm the waiter, and I'm gonna give you a Coke and be like, I know you said you wanted a shake, but you seem to me to be someone that would prefer a Coke. That's literally what she did. She's acknowledging she heard you say one thing, and she, for whatever internal reason only known to her, believes it's something else. That was really insane. Like the more I think about that, that's what I said. Something's wrong with that broad. All these chicks are like mentally ill to some extent from just the stuff they do. Like you heard this person say one thing, and then for whatever reason you internally think they believe otherwise, or they're trying to do something that's not what they say, when you have no reason to believe that other than you just being stupid or like trying to make excuses for people acting the same way over and over. Oh, Megumi, would you prefer another Dragon Ball stream? Because I was thinking of doing one of those tomorrow. Because I actually had a decent topic I was gonna put on here. So let me know what your position is on that. Because again, the news has been kind of limited. We're just getting more presidential election stuff and this stupid virus going around killing people. Yeah, flying. Well, it's more about just the series in general. Like I already kind of spoke a little bit about the Galactic Patrol arc, the one that's currently in the Super manga. So I'll probably it'll be like a general topic kind of thing, just like a character, for example, or something, just sort of something in that regard. All right, cool. Because I do want to, start making more stuff that relates to that. So this is a good way to do it. So hopefully you'll, if you don't show up, you can still see it anyway after it's finished. But yeah, thank you for showing up to this. It was a very slow start to I think, decent stream. So thanks for appearing. I will see you tomorrow or at least I'll put something up tomorrow, and then you might see. You get the picture. But thank you for making an appearance.